1226 on Facebook for the latest up-to-date coverage near you.
On your side, this is News 12 at 5:30.
A memorial for a murdered soldier in Texas, a woman whose death brought on a call for change throughout the military. We're going to take a look at that service.
But first, taking a look at coronavirus cases across the two states. Today, Georgia reporting 3,300 new cases and 35 more deaths. The state's total now over 231,000 with more than 4,500 deaths. In South Carolina, more than 1,000 new cases and 16 more deaths. The total now over 103,000 with more than 2,100 deaths.
And looking at our local hospitals, we're learning AU Health has added more than 160 cases and one new hospitalization this afternoon. Aiken Regional reporting more than 580 total cases. That includes 6 new cases as well. Of that total, 31 people are currently hospitalized there. University Hospital saw 8 new cases and 3 fewer hospitalizations. The Charlie Norwood VA reporting no change, and Doctors Hospital adding 3 more cases. Officials also reporting more than 10 fewer inpatients as well. As you can see there, the number of COVID inpatients at our local hospitals seems to be leveling off. Health experts say that is encouraging to see.
Brady Trapnell tells us why those numbers are staying the same and how we can keep them from spiking.
For weeks, our local hospitals have been fighting the battle against COVID while seeing the numbers continue to climb higher and higher. Now, some are seeing better news, and AU says cases seem to be leveling off. Hospitalizations are consistent around similar numbers at both AU and University Hospital. For the past week, it's been in the 80s at University. And health officials at University say it's good news if you're being optimistic, but they are still plateauing at a high number. AU is also far from declaring any victory, but Dr. Cool says seeing the cases slow down is encouraging.
People are starting to get the message about wearing masks, washing their hands, and watching their distance. Getting complacent is what caused this peak.
With school starting back, health officials say now isn't the time to relax. They say, if anything, we should start hunkering down to push these numbers lower and lower. Reporting in Augusta, Brady Trapnell on your side.
Thanks, Brady. Local hospitalization numbers are going down. However, we are seeing an increase in cases among children. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll talk about what the city is doing to get those numbers down.
As we have for weather, we need to apologize for some technical errors that took us off the air this afternoon. Not really errors, more of a lightning strike. We've had sort of a power hit in the last few minutes, and we're trying to get things back to normal. But, Riley, that's all part of the storm system that seems to be pushing through as we speak, as we get systems back online.
Exactly right, Richard. And we have been tracking these heavy downpours and storms across the Augusta Metro since we came on air around 4 p.m. So the heavy rain threat has actually allowed a flood advisory to be triggered for portions of Columbia, Edgefield, and Richmond County. That does include West Augusta, Evans, Martinez, Grovetown, and not quite to Harlem. Harlem you may be included on the barely outside of that. But this is for minor flooding, ponding on roadways, small streams kind of swelling up. If you live in a flood-prone area that floods very easily, you're likely seeing some issues out there. But this is going to stay in effect until 7:15 p.m., so it's about 5:30 right now. We have about another hour and 45 minutes left on that. Now, a wider look, you can see most of these storms are behaving for the most part. We're not seeing really intense thunderstorms producing strong wind gusts, more of just a heavy rain threat across the metro and other portions of the CSRA. In our western counties through Sandersville, Sparta, Dairy Lane there in central Washington County seeing some good downpours. And these are going to stick with us through this evening and not expected to dry out until early Saturday morning. We'll have more on that forecast in just a little bit.
Wet, stormy Friday afternoon, Riley, thank you. The rise of remote learning expected to take a toll on family finances. Bankrate.com says 61% of families are reevaluating their budgets right now and their careers. Almost a third say expenses like technology and tutoring would take the biggest toll on their finances. 23% cite the lack of work-life balance as their greatest hurdle right now. 22% say having to cut work hours to help with remote schooling will also hurt their finances. And then 15% of responders say they might have to stop working altogether. You can head to our website to see a story the I-Team did discussing the financial hurdles local families are facing right now.
The U.S. government will create a coronavirus strain for possible human challenge trials. This will help the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases evaluate vaccine candidates. Those are tested by injecting them in people who then return to their community and see if they become infected. But in human trials, people receive the experimental vaccines and are then intentionally infected with the virus. Those trials are typically done in areas where the virus is not widely circulating.
Family and friends remembering a murdered soldier in Texas today. The remains of Army Specialist Vanessa Gillian arrived at her Houston High School for her memorial service. She vanished from Fort Hood in April while there were allegations then that she was being sexually harassed on the base. Her remains discovered in June during a search. A suspect in her murder, a fellow soldier, later died by suicide. And last week, Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy pledged to create enduring change to honor her memory, calling her murder a catalyst, highlighting sexual harassment and sexual assault within the military.
Survivors and relatives of the victims of the massive explosion that struck Beirut last week are calling for people to be held accountable. During a news conference today, they urged the international community to set up an international court to prosecute those responsible for the disaster. The massive blast left nearly 200 people dead and an estimated 6,000 people injured. A lawyer representing the victims said a letter was submitted to the UN Security Council asking for that investigation.
They are all responsible and they should all pay for what they did. We will avenge Alexandra. We will avenge all the people that we lost in this terrible tragedy. This was a mass murder, and this is how the world needs to remember it.
Documents have emerged that show the country's top leadership and security officials were aware that ammonium nitrate were stored in Beirut's port. It's still not known what sparked them.
The U.S. borders with Canada and Mexico will stay closed. Again, we apologize for technical problems we're having because of a power hit we took earlier, so bear with us. We're trying to work out a lot of kinks right now in the building. The coronavirus pandemic has changed the way we live, but it's also led to a wave of new innovation to help us avoid the virus.
That's right. Laura Podesta shows us how technology is evolving to keep people safe.
This supermarket in Finland is taking a hands-off approach when it comes to COVID-19. With shoppers worried about touching surfaces, the store added freezer door handles customers operate with their arms. No touch needed at this mall in Thailand, where shoppers put their best foot forward.
So we came up with this idea of the hands-free, foot-operated elevator.
Pedals replace buttons and are used to not only summon the elevator, but also choose the floor. Wearing a mask in public can help keep you safe, but that's not possible when dining out. So an Israeli inventor came up with this, a mask that can be worn while eating. A simple lever opens it up with every bite and then immediately closes it. And delivering meals to diners no longer requires a human touch at this Egyptian restaurant. The Mozo robot can be programmed to take orders and bring them to specific tables. It's a good idea, this woman says. Instead of having a human being come near you, there's a robot. Robots are being used at this clinic in Rwanda to help treat patients.
Good morning. I am here to take your temperature.
The machines have temperature sensors. They can also ask questions and record messages for a doctor to review.
They help us to decrease or reduce the risk of transmission.
And in Japan, machines are giving a new meaning to virtual graduation. Students at Tokyo's BBT University control these avatar robots from home to collect their diplomas. A high-tech way to celebrate a degree in higher education.
Well, I just love seeing all these innovations. It's really interesting to see how technology just keeps evolving.
Some of those will be with us forever. Others are a little creepy, don't you think?
I think so. Some's entertaining, though. I can't lie.
It is entertaining to see some of the new ways we're doing life right now.
Exactly. Well, to weather now as we take a look over Grovetown. An accident on I-20 near Gateway to Grovetown on the westbound side. Traffic there backed up. Riley.
And we've seen a lot of rain along that corridor at the gateway to Grovetown, so weather may have played a factor in that accident out there. We actually do have portions of Columbia, Richmond, and Edgefield County underneath this flood advisory until 7:15 p.m. This is for minor flooding conditions, small stream flooding, urbanized flooding. We know urban areas just flood very easily. All that concrete and asphalt basically just goes to that lowest area. So if you are a flood-prone area, you likely are dealing with some issues if you live anywhere in Grovetown, Evans, Martinez, or West Augusta. So this is going to be in effect at least the next hour, hour and a half. And here's a look at our radar estimated rainfall totals. So in this area that is underneath that advisory, they've seen 1 to 2 inches, maybe even some spots seeing a little bit more than 2 inches. So that is definitely enough to cause some issues since it fell in such a short amount of time. And it's still continuing to rain out there. They're not completely rain-free just yet. No, but luckily, we're not seeing much in the way of severe storms today. Storms today have mainly just been producing some heavy rain, a few strikes to lightning, but nothing all too crazy. And this next wave moving into our western county looks to be fairly menaceless, so not really expected to cause too many issues. So it's really just the rain threat we're expecting through this evening into tonight, and then the southern CSRA, they've really just been dealing with moderate to light rainfall, nothing all too heavy for them. So most of this rain should be manageable for us, and the rainy conditions we've seen so far today are all thanks to this area of low pressure. This is swinging in a low-level trough that just adds a little bit extra lift to our atmosphere and really helps initiate these showers and storms. Now, the good news is, going into the weekend, this front that's stalled out, that's actually expected to get closer towards us Saturday, bring us some pretty good rain chances during the day Saturday, mainly afternoon and evening, but it's expected to move closer towards the coast by Sunday and lower those rain chances for us. So Sunday is looking like the better of the two weekend days. Here's a look at the Savannah River, I-20, courtesy of EarthCam. Great shot here, definitely showing some rainy conditions. Not ideal to be on the roadways, especially along this stretch of I-20 that is underneath that flood advisory. So a lot of ponding on roadways probably being seen across the area. You can see the headlights on for most cars coming onto the South Carolina side. So it is kind of nasty out there. Definitely not ideal to be out on the roads the next few hours. The good news is, with the rain, it has cooled us off. We're at 80 degrees right now out at Bushfield, so it's not feeling all that bad. Still pretty humid air, though. Dew points in the upper 70s. That's a tropical feel in the air for sure. Now, through this evening, even up until around midnight, we're going to keep the chance for these showers and storms to be rolling on through. Overall, not expecting major impacts. Just the isolated areas like we've seen so far today could run into some minor flooding problems. Heading into Saturday, early on in the day, we're expecting a lot of low-level cloud cover. This should actually make it be a nice start to your Saturday. Not a lot of sunshine to really heat us up too quickly, but with all that moisture in the air, it's going to be very easy again for these showers and storms to develop. So if you remember that front we were talking about, that's getting a little bit closer towards us Saturday, so that adds a little bit of lift to our atmosphere. It makes it very easy for these to pop up. So any outdoor plans for your Saturday, anytime after lunchtime, we're going to have that opportunity for passing showers and storms. But once again, this isn't an all-day rain we're expecting on Saturday. It's basically just going to be hit or miss and come through in waves. So if you have outdoor plans Saturday, I wouldn't necessarily cancel them. It's just that there's going to be that opportunity for a quick passing shower storm at some point during those plans. Heading into Sunday, this is where we start to see some improvement in our forecast. Expecting to wake up to some cloud cover early on into the day. Later into the afternoon and evening, you can see we are still expecting some storms around, but these storms are expected to be mainly for the central and southern CSRA, so that I-20 corridor basically separating the dry conditions and rain conditions on Sunday. So this is thanks to that front just getting a little bit closer, and you can see that drier air working its way into the upstate North Georgia. They're expecting a very nice Sunday afternoon with high temperatures in the 80s. Our weekend forecast, not a complete washout. It's just we're expecting better rain chances on Saturday compared to Sunday. Early on in the day Saturday before lunchtime, cannot even rule out an isolated shower, but most of us look dry for the first part of your Saturday. Later in the afternoon through around sunset, that's when your better rain chance is going to be for tomorrow. On Sunday, you can see we're expecting much lower storm chances. And as we just saw in that hour by hour, most of those storm chances Sunday are going to be along and south of that I-20 corridor. Now, like we've seen each afternoon this week, each storms are going to be producing lightning, some heavy rain, and some strong wind gusts. So the strong wind gust threat, that's isolated. We're not expecting a lot in the way of severe storms this weekend, but with these summer storms, they pop up very quickly, so they can produce some very heavy rain and some strong wind gusts for a short amount of time. Also, the isolated flooding threat, just like we're seeing today. We're not seeing a lot of flooding. It's just small areas that get underneath those storms for too long. Definitely could run into some issues. The lake forecast, once again, not looking too bad, especially on Sunday. If you have to pick 1 and 2 days, I would go with Sunday for outdoor plans up at the lake. Both afternoons expected to be near 90 for high temperatures, and so seasonal for this time of year around the CSRA. Your chores, if you need to get them done tomorrow, the morning time, obviously the better time to do it. When it's cloudy, cooler, wind's not too bad, and those storm chances are much lower. So anytime after around 12 p.m. tomorrow, that's when those storms are going to get going and be fairly widespread across the area. Another update for us. How about this? We have our 11th named storm of the year. This is the earliest K named storm on record. We broke the J named storm record just a few days ago. Kyle is expected to stay over open water, not really affect anywhere on the U.S. mainland, and expected just a weekend over the next few days. So we got our 11th named storm already. 12th name is coming up. We'll continue to watch that, but as of right now, Josephine and Kyle, no threat to the U.S. Our storm chances a little bit lower Sunday into Monday, but as we head later into next week, how about that cool down? Highs back down to today.
Thanks, Riley. Well, a new jingle for ice cream trucks is free for all drivers nationwide. A celebrity composing the tune to mark a new era.
Again, our apologies for the technical problems this afternoon. Cities across the nation canceling or postponing events, but one state making sure a tradition lives on. Every year, a girl is chosen to be a goodwill ambassador for Minnesota's dairy farmers. Minnesota does this every year. I just wanted to say Minnesota.
She gets to sit in a 40-degree butter booth at the state's fair and have her face sculpted entirely out of butter. This year, instead of a live audience, they had virtual viewers on Facebook. The sculpture is created from a 90-pound block of butter. This is just crazy to me. I couldn't imagine just sitting in there having my face sculpted out of butter.
Right now in Augusta, Georgia, I think a lot of people would appreciate a 40-degree booth just to sit in for a little while, escaping the humidity.
That is true.
Beautiful artwork.
Well, some good news. A shelter cat named Dennis Quaid has found a home. This comes as he was featured on a news station as an adoptable pet. Now Dennis Quaid will soon become very familiar with his name.
That's because he caught the attention of that celebrity with the same name. Quaid also happens to be a co-host of a pet-themed podcast. So this is perfect. He reached out to the shelter. He was able to meet the kitty via Zoom. The two will be able to be reunited or united for the first time this weekend.
That is so funny. I love it. We'll check this out. You know, I just can't listen to that without dancing. You just heard a new ice cream truck jingle. Good Humor Ice Cream teamed up with RZA of Wu-Tang Clan to compose it. This new song is meant to replace the commonly used Turkey in the Straw jingle.
Ice cream with a bead. Turkey in the Straw is linked to minstrel shows from the early 1900s. It's been around forever, has racist overtones, but Good Humor just wanted a redo. They wanted a new jingle for a new era.
And I can assure you that this one is made with love. Peace. Good Humor Ice Cream is represented.
The new jingle is available to ice cream truck drivers everywhere, and they're doing that for free.
I just like it. I'm really entertained by this. I think if I heard this coming down the street, I would definitely run up to that ice cream truck.
Yeah, maybe in a neighborhood near you sooner than later. We'll find out. Let us know if you hear it out there on the street. All right, Riley, we're going to kick it back to you because right now things are weird with our commercials. So we apologize to our viewers, especially our sponsors. We're going to help you get the word out quickly.
Yeah, definitely a shout out to all our great sponsors that help us make this possible, and unfortunately not able to run those spots right now. But we are tracking a number of showers and storms across the area. Nothing is severe, but we do have an active flood advisory in effect for portions of Columbia and Richmond County. I'm going to see if my fancy little clicker will work here and see if we can start. I don't think Badge Track's going to work today, so we got to do it the old-fashioned way. Here, there's this flood advisory. This is for places like Grovetown, Evans, Martinez, West Augusta. You're included in this advisory as well. This is going to stay in effect until 7:15 p.m. So this is for minor flooding, small stream flooding, urbanized flooding. We know the urban environment, all that concrete and asphalt, just not all that porous for water to travel through. So it just all accumulates at that lowest spot. So be careful if you are planning on driving anywhere from Grovetown to Evans, Martinez, Augusta, so Washington Road, not going to be too safe out there. They've seen a lot of rain in that portions of the county. In Evans and Martinez, they've likely seen close to 2 inches of rain already. Near Grovetown, 1.5 inches, and then in Evans, just shy of 1.5 inches. In West Augusta, we've likely seen close to 2 inches as well. So there's There's still showers and storms out and about, continue to cause some issues for us. But as we head after midnight, those rain chances do go down for us. Expect the storms again Saturday, but Sunday into Monday, they appear to be more isolated before we see more storms, but less heat by later next week.
Much. Here's something you don't see in Atlanta, Georgia very often. About 24 goats and donkeys. They got loose in a Fulton County neighborhood. And look at the guy sitting up on the windowsill. Neighbors say a homeowner rented the animals to clear some brush in her yard. Great idea, but clearly they didn't do a very good job. It took 3 women and a couple of dog leashes 30 minutes to round up all
How
those goats.
crazy is that? I couldn't imagine walking outside and seeing that, but that must be fun because I would just love to sit out there and pet those goats.
Those goats were having the best time, the best day. But yeah, unusual sight in Atlanta, Georgia, for sure. That's going to wrap it up for News 12 at 5:30. We're going to be back in just a few minutes for News 12 at 6 o'clock. Bear with us. We're working through some technical difficulties this afternoon after a power bump, and Riley's tracking the weather for us. All ahead in our next half hour.